navigate our own personal ethical bearings. All right, so when you have an ethical problem, it's basically a situation. You'll hear us, I'll use the term ethical dilemma. I think the textbook uses the term ethical dilemma as well, where there's a problem that exists and you have to make a choice amongst various alternatives. So we saw that again with this classic case. As Jimmy pointed out, this was a classic case. The man and the sick wife who broke the law and sold medicine to save his wife. There are consequences to that. And so we have to think about the consequences. As auditors, it's quite possible you're going to be faced with ethical dilemmas. If you just think about some of the things we talked about when we talked about independence, right? And we talked about independence and appearance is pretty easy. You could regulate that in a way, right? Because you can say that you can't own stock in your clients. If your spouse has a significant financial accounting role with the client, you're not independent. You should not be on that audit. Right? So we could kind of regulate those things and see. But it's the independence in fact, right? That's harder, that independence in mental attitude. And so those are the types of situations truly where auditors might find themselves in an ethical dilemma, right? They've been with a client for a long time, they think the client is a good client, any number of situations that could arise. The client offers you a job, right? You don't tell your partner about it, right? Or the client asks you not to, or anything, or something as simple as the senior comes to you and say, look, we're over budget, and you're taking too long on this. I need you to finish this up, but don't record the time. How many of you consider that an ethical dilemma? Why not? Senior comes to you and says, we're over budget. I need you to eat some time. Don't record it. How many think that's an ethical dilemma, or that's just business as usual? Yes. Tell me your name again. Lionel.
I feel like that's an ethical dilemma because even though it's something that may benefit the firm itself, it's not something that you have to kind of look out for yourself first and make sure you're doing the correct thing. Even though you are over budget, you're still doing your job.
Right. Okay. Anybody have an opposing or different opinion? How would it affect, what are the consequences? So Lionel pointed out, you're doing your job, you should get paid for it. So you say you present that argument to the senior. The senior's like, you don't get paid for overtime, so it doesn't matter. You're going to get paid anyway. We don't pay you for overtime. Overtime is kind of built into your base salary, so don't worry about it. You're going to get paid the same salary. Senior comes back at you with that. Cody.
It affects the firm's billable hours.
Exactly. Right? It affects the firm's billable hours. The senior comes back and said, forget it. This is a fixed fee client, right? We're only going to get paid X amount of dollars. Then what? Any other consequences of it? Lionel's getting paid. Cody's doesn't have to worry about it because the firm's going to get paid. Victoria.
But the problem comes when you do other similar engagements. You're going to keep under budgeting because you don't know how long it actually takes.
Right. Okay. So those are all of the consequences, right? And Victoria's absolutely right. You don't know what you're doing by eating those hours, right? You're not truly representing what it costs to complete that job, right? You don't. So the person who comes after you is going to look at this budget. So let's say you were budgeted to perform this work in 15 hours, but in actuality, it took you 25 hours. If you only record 15 hours, and let's just say there were no problems, it's just that the budget was unreasonable, right? Or there's just a lot more work than you anticipated. It's a lot more complicated the area is a lot more complicated than originally thought, right? So if you don't bill that, then the team that comes after you, they're going to be looking at 15 hours to complete something that really takes 25 hours. And actually what's going to happen, more than likely, is the team that comes after you, or the next year when you're auditing that engagement, they're going to say, oh, we know so much more about this now, so we can actually budget that 15 hours that we had, we can budget that down to maybe 12. So now you expect it to complete in 12 hours, something that really took 25 hours. And so that's the danger. And all firms will tell you, it's in their mantra, do not eat hours. Be open, honest, and budget and record your hours. Right? But then there are always pressures to come in under budget. And so that is something that people run into all the time. And it's not, there are other things as well. So you can run into a situation where, let's say, you're auditing an area and something's off, right? Your professional skepticism is kicked in. You're like, something doesn't seem right here, right? And then you go to your senior and say, the client gave me this information, but I don't know, it doesn't seem right. Senior is like, oh, forget it, it's right, just sign off on it. Do you sign off on it? Why not? Senior has a lot of experience, hot dog, really he's on the partner, on track to make manager early. What do? Do you question yourself? You're the newbie. Would you question yourself? Am I talking to myself? Lionel.
I would make sure, I would kind of triple check my work, make sure I didn't make a mistake because, but if I still see that there's something going on, I will still go, inspect it and go on and try to see what I can do.
Right. Okay, so Lionel would, and I think it's human nature, but all of us would probably double check our work. And you probably double checked your work before you even go to the senior, right? And you're just like, something's not right, and you document why you think it's not right. It doesn't add up, and you try to explain that. If the senior still doesn't buy, would anyone think about going directly to the manager or the partner? Yes, Delphi.
Yeah, I would go further to the manager just to verify and make sure I'm doing the right thing.
Right. And what are the possible consequences of going over the senior after you've already spoken to the senior and the senior doesn't address, you just feel you're not comfortable and you go to the manager? John.
Because it makes your relationship with the senior resent.
Right. The senior might resent you for going over their head, right? This is a person who has to write your evaluation. Ella, were you going to add something to it?